The reason why you are not achieving success is because you have not decided to. You see, in order to achieve success, you must first decide and then you must take action. But what is it that you're going to decide on? I think that your decisions truly come from the things that you don't decide on, the things that you filter, the things that you get rid of. You see, we're so inundated with all of the things that we can do that we procrastinate on all of these different things and we end up not doing anything at all. We've created this environment or this situation to where busy is a status. I completely disagree with the whole concept of being busy. I'd rather be focused and take intentional action. But before we can take action, we must first decide. You see, you decide and then you act. But how do you make your decisions? And that's the reason why I created the bottom line up front planning method. Yeah, I remember years ago, I struggled. Like I truly struggled. I had these massive to-do lists of things that I had to do all of the time. And I would have not only one piece of paper, but I would have 2 and 3 pieces of paper stapled together with all these different things that, well, I seemingly had to do. And I would never really get any of them done. I would get a few things done, but it would just be one of those things that it was so overwhelming that I had no idea where to begin, where to start. I didn't really have a system or a ranking system, or these are the most important things that I must get done. These are things that I can get done. So I would have these long to-do lists of things, 25. So I had this one little piece of paper. And at the top of this piece of paper, it was things to do, things to get done. And then I would just have 25 blank lines. Well, I had a whole bunch of these things printed out. I had probably 100 of these things printed out. I had a whole book full of these things. I would just pull out a sheet of paper and I would just start writing. You know, anytime that I had a weekend or I had a day that I would just like, man, I got to get a lot of things done, I would pull out a piece of that paper and I would just write down 25 things. If I had more than 25 things, I would pull out another piece of paper and I would write. Sometimes I found myself with like 3, 4, 5 pieces of paper all stapled together with all these things to do and no clearly defined one thing that I must get done. Over the years, I started filtering that down. I got rid of the things to do because I really don't like having the things to do piece of paper. I really don't. And that was the reason why I created the bottom line upfront planning method. With the bottom line upfront planning method, I'm able to get crystal clear on the number one thing that I must get done that day in order to consider the day a success. The bottom line up front. You see, most people go throughout their day not really achieving anything because they're focused on everything. And when everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. That's the reason why you must create a bottom line up front. What's that one thing? What's the number one thing you must get done today in order to consider the day a success? And that becomes your bottom line up front. Yeah, sure, you can have a to-do list. You can have all these fantastic things to do. And you can filter those things into that one thing. What's that one thing? What's that bottom line up front? So you start off with the bottom line up front planning method with that one thing. The bottom line up front. This is it. This is the one thing that I must get done in order to consider the day a success. And then from there, you want to figure out what are the steps? What are the steps that it's going to take in order to achieve that bottom line up front? Think about it like this. I had a great mentor of mine one time that taught me the most valuable lesson that I ever learned in how to teach anything. and it's like a recipe. It's how to bake a cake. When I first heard that story, or that, I thought it was the dumbest thing ever. I truly did. I thought it was the absolute just dumbest thing ever. It's like, bake a cake? Why would I want to know how to bake a cake? And then it made sense after it was explained to me. You see, it's a recipe. How to Bake a Cake is the title. And then all the steps. And then you have additional context on like what to do, how to do. So it's like what you're going to do, you're going to bake a cake. Well, what do you need to do in order to bake a cake? You have to gather the ingredients. You have to do this. You have to go get that. You have to mix this, mix that, match this, match that. You have to turn the oven on. This is how long you have to cook the cake. It's a recipe. And that's exactly what the bottom line up front planning method is. It's a recipe. It's a recipe for success. It's a recipe that I want you to follow every single day So that way you can get crystal clear on the number one decision that you must make in order to take action. And that's the reason why you have indecision, is because everything's a priority. And if everything's a priority, then nothing's a priority, I said. But how do you bake a cake? Well, you bake a cake by figuring out what that number one thing is. What is that number one thing? That's your bottom line up front. Then you create that recipe. What is it going to take to achieve that cake? And then from there, at the end of the day, what you're going to do is you're going to follow up. And that's the important part right there as well, too, is following up. Most people don't even follow up. How did my day go? Before we even get to the follow-up, you really kind of have to do a progress check along the way. About midway through the day, you can do a progress check. I always do a progress check to make sure I'm still on target, make sure I'm still on task, make sure I'm still baking a cake, or if I've drifted off into making something else. You have to do that progress check. And then at the end of the day, you conduct an after-action review. You know, what was supposed to happen, what did happen, what went right, what needs improvement, modify, tweak, or change, and continue taking action. But at the end of the day, after you do the after-action review, this is where it really becomes important. You figure out what is your most important thing that you can do the next day, the following day. What's that number one thing that I must do tomorrow? That becomes your new bottom line up front. And then you repeat this process every single day. And that right there, in a nutshell, is the bottom line upfront planning method. And if you do want to learn more about the bottom line upfront planning method, all you have to do is head on over to my website, terrywadethompson.com. I do have the Bluff Planner. That's the Bluff Planner, bottom line upfront bluff. It's over on my website, terrywadethompson.com. Check it out. Make sure you grab that. And there's a whole lot more to this system than simply figuring out what your bluff is. What are the steps in order to achieve the bluff in an after-action review? I have a few more things neatly tucked away into this bottom line upfront planner that you're going to love. And I guarantee you that it will help you achieve success each and every single day. And if that was helpful for you, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure that you drop a comment. Subscribe to the channel. And once again, connect with me over on my website, terrywadethompson.com. You'll see all my products, services, books. You can connect with all my social media. Head on over, terrywadethompson.com. We'll see you there.